Okay, we're recording. Let's begin. Number 5. The Oort Cloud, April 4th, 1950. Dutch astronomer Jan Hendrik Oort paused while calculating the orbits of long-period comets at the Leiden Observatory. This was what he expected. These comets coming from the inner parts of the solar system, perhaps from the icy belt of objects beyond Jupiter, but the data said something else. Something completely different.
Comets were coming from nearly a light year away from the sun. Oort put down his pen and looked out the window. Then he recalculated. The same result again. Far outside the solar system, hundreds of thousands of times farther than us, there was an invisible and massive shell. And that shell was buried in a dark silence. Today, we call this silence the Oort Cloud. And don't let the word cloud fool you. Inside the structure, there are between 1 trillion and trillions of objects. Not 1 trillion, multiple trillions. Stretching from about 2,000 to 200,000 astronomical units from the Sun, up to 200,000 times the distance from Earth to the Sun. This shell marks the true boundary of the solar system. But you weren't even aware of its existence until today, because no telescope has ever seen it directly. The Oort Cloud was discovered by hypothesis. We know it not because we see it, but because we feel its effects. Now think about this. This is a region where the sun's gravity means almost nothing. It is so far away that it takes millions of years for an object to orbit the sun once. Time flows differently there. From that distance, the sun is just a slightly brighter dot than the other stars around it. And there, in that gloomy darkness, trillions of objects are sleeping. I use the word sleeping deliberately, because these objects wake up from time to time. When passing stars or galactic tidal forces give a slight nudge to an object in the Oort Cloud, that object begins to fall toward the inner solar system. But this fall isn't for a second or a day. It takes millions of years. That object travels toward us in darkness, silently, for millions of years. And us, we only notice it when it enters Jupiter's orbit. That is, when we only have a few years left. Remember Comet Hale-Bopp in 1997? That glowing feather in the sky. That object came from the Oort Cloud. Its core was about 60 kilometers in diameter. Chicxulub, which wiped out the dinosaurs, was only 10 to 15 kilometers. We should call them death launchers, because what they launch is a timeless and unannounced extinction. This graveyard surrounds the solar system in every direction, in a perfect sphere. There is no escape, only curiosity. And curiosity can sometimes cost everything.
Number 4. Kuiper Belt and Lost Planets, August 18, 1992. Astronomers David Jewett and Jane Liu, working at the Mauna Kea Observatory in Hawaii, had been systematically searching beyond Neptune for a long time. What they expected was simple: empty space. Because back then, the general consensus was that the solar system ended beyond Neptune. Then, suddenly, something appeared on their screens. A moving dot. That object was cataloged as 1992 QB1. And with this discovery, the existence of the Kuiper Belt was confirmed. The Kuiper Belt is a massive ring of billions of icy objects extending from about 30 to 50 astronomical units beyond Neptune's orbit. If the solar system is a city, the Kuiper Belt is the abandoned slums outside that city. Slums where sunlight turns into a faint leak and temperatures drop to minus 220 degrees Celsius. Pluto, Eris, Makemake, Haumea. These are the known dwarf planets. But the real issue isn't what's known. The total mass of objects in the Kuiper Belt is far below calculated values. This discrepancy brings a striking question to mind. Where is the rest? Models say there should have been much more matter here in the early solar system. Hundreds of objects the size of Pluto, or even larger, should have existed. They vanished. According to the Nice model, about 3.9 billion years ago, the solar system went through a period of chaos. Jupiter and Saturn's orbits fell into resonance and began pushing each other. This domino effect flung Uranus and Neptune outward. The two giants of the solar system practically combed through the Kuiper Belt on their way out. Most of the objects were hurled out of the solar system or thrown into the inner system, striking the Moon, Mars, and Earth. This period was called the Late Heavy Bombardment. Whether anything living on Earth existed back then is still a matter of debate. Today, the Kuiper Belt is the faint remnant of that catastrophe. In that region where materials to build planets were once buried, where new worlds could have been born, there are now only fragments, frozen, lonely pieces of worlds left unfinished, never to be completed. A graveyard. But this graveyard doesn't just belong to the past. Objects in the Kuiper Belt are still being thrown toward us from time to time. In 2014, the New Horizons spacecraft reached Pluto. As Pluto's surface was imaged, scientists were stunned. Mountains, glacial plains, geological activity. In the midst of a massacre site that began 3.9 billion years ago, Pluto was still alive. Graveyards sometimes breathe, and that makes it even more chilling.
Number 3. Jupiter's Trojan asteroids. February 12, 1906, German astronomer Max Wolf discovered an asteroid at the Heidelberg Royal Observatory. He was used to it, having catalogued hundreds. But this discovery was unlike the others. The object's orbit traced a pattern he had never seen before. The asteroid's orbit almost sat right on top of Jupiter's orbit, and it seemed fixed exactly 60 degrees ahead of Jupiter. Wolf named this object 588 Achilles. That day, he didn't know humanity had discovered one of the strangest structures in the solar system. We call this structure Lagrange points. Specifically, the L4 and L5 points are where the gravitational forces of two large bodies, in this case the Sun and Jupiter, balance each other. If an object settles at these points, it can theoretically stay there forever. Because it cannot get out, the gravitational geometry traps it. And at these 2 points, 60 degrees ahead of and behind Jupiter, there are about 12,000 asteroids. They're called Trojan asteroids. They are named after figures from ancient Greek mythology because, like the warriors in the myth, they're divided into 2 fronts facing each other. 12,000 asteroids. The largest are hundreds of kilometers in diameter, all orbiting the Sun along with Jupiter. Most of these are the most primitive remnants of the solar system, objects that existed 4.5 billion years ago when the disk around the Sun was condensing. Are these graveyards? No. Worse, they are traps. In 2021, NASA's Lucy spacecraft was launched. Its mission to examine the Trojan asteroids up close. Because these objects are the frozen records of the early solar system, but a fact that emerged while planning Lucy's mission deeply affected some engineers. While these objects' orbits appear theoretically stable, they can exhibit chaotic behavior in the long run. Small gravitational nudges from other planets could knock these objects out of their orbits over millions of years. And where does a Trojan asteroid go when it leaves its orbit? To the inner solar system. These massive rock piles that have been waiting next to Jupiter for 4.5 billion years will one day be released. And that moment of release could mean doomsday for anything in the inner solar system. Right now, the Lucy spacecraft is traveling among these objects, and every time it takes a picture, it reminds us the universe has prepared its traps with patience. It has been waiting for billions of years. Patience is the deadliest feature of the cosmos.
Number 2. Asteroid Belt and the Missing Planet, January 1st, 1801. Priest and astronomer Giuseppe Piazzi, scanning the sky at the Palermo Astronomical Observatory, noticed an object, a moving dot. Piazzi first thought it was a comet, but its orbit didn't look like a comet's. It was a smooth, circular orbit between Mars and Jupiter. Piazzi named it Ceres. It was declared the discovery of the century. At that time, scientists believed a planet should be in this region. An empirical formula called Bode's law predicted where planets should be. For the gap between Mars and Jupiter, the formula was clear. A planet should have been there, but it wasn't. Instead, it was revealed over time that there are millions of objects in this region. Large, small, irregular, fragmented. All were named the asteroid belt. So where did that planet go? It didn't. It never formed. Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system and its most relentless disruptor. During planet formation, Jupiter's massive gravity did not allow the material between Mars and Jupiter to come together. Every time material tried to accumulate, it was shattered and thrown away. A planet tried to be born, over and over again, and it failed every time. Today, the total mass of the asteroid belt is only 4% of the Moon's mass. There is no longer enough material here to build a planet. Jupiter has ground it down and scattered it across all time. This region has remained as the graveyard of an unborn planet. But the story isn't over yet. The asteroid belt is not static. These objects collide, break apart, and their orbits occasionally change. These changes are triggered by resonance zones called Kirkwood gaps. Asteroids entering specific resonance points due to Jupiter's gravity can be hurled into unstable orbits, and some of these asteroids eventually cross Earth's orbit. There are currently more than 30,000 objects tracked as NEOs, near-Earth objects. All of them are escapees from either the asteroid belt or the Kuiper Belt. Remember the 2013 Chelyabinsk meteor event? A meteor entered the atmosphere and exploded with the energy of 500 kilotons, dozens of times more powerful than nuclear bombs, and we didn't even know about it hours before. The remains of an unborn planet are still flying today, still looking for us somewhere. Graveyards are sometimes noisy.
Number 1. The Sun's Path of Death. July 27, 2018. ESA's Gaia Space Telescope released a data set measuring the positions and movements of over 1 billion stars in the Milky Way. But one detail made some theoretical physicists' stomachs churn. The data showed a density beyond expectation. Cooled white dwarfs. Stars that were once alive, now no longer burning, no longer giving light. Silent and dead objects. These were the proofs showing the Sun's end. The Sun is currently about 4.5 billion years old. Its lifespan is around 10 billion years. This means it has left half of its life behind. In the remaining 5 billion years, the Sun will enter a dramatic and irreversible transformation. First, the hydrogen in its core will begin to run out. The core will shrink, but the outer layers will expand. The Sun will turn into a red giant, reaching about 200 times its current size. This expansion is so massive that Mercury and Venus will vanish inside the Sun. They won't just be planets anymore. They will be torn into particles. Their existence will end. What about Earth? Calculations debate if Earth will be engulfed, but it doesn't matter. Earth's surface will rise above 1,000 degrees Celsius. Oceans will have evaporated millions of years prior. After the red giant phase, the Sun will shed its outer layers into space. This cloud of gas and dust is called a planetary nebula. What remains? A white dwarf. The Sun's core will turn into a dense Earth-sized object that no longer burns. No more fusion, no more light production, just the slow loss of remaining energy. Over billions of years, it becomes a black dwarf, a completely lifeless object. In 5 billion years, what will be in the place of the solar system? A system without Mercury, without Venus, and likely without Earth. The outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, might survive, but everything around them will have changed. No energy sources, no light, no heat. And in the center, a pale and dead white dwarf, the Sun's tombstone. The Oort Cloud and Kuiper Belt will still be there, orbiting a dead star. Every graveyard in the solar system whispers the same thing. This universe was created not to build, but to dismantle. Your presence here is temporary. Our presence here is temporary. This system's presence is temporary. So, how many more of these graveyards do you think exist?
Write your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe.